Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to be talking about how to make sure your structure works. Now, this is an incredibly important thing. There's a lot of people that think structure is just like a necessity or that kind of thing. I'm going to tell you, the more we've learned about structure, and we've been learning about it for, I don't know, 20 years now, the more we have learned about structure, the more important it has become. It essentially creates the journey from where the character starts and the audience starts to where the story ends, right? Your audience is going to be going on that journey. So we're going to talk about that step by step today. Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll talk about the basics of structure, so you have that. And I know that there are people at different levels in here. We have some people who have probably spent a lot of time working with structure. We also, and they're looking for what's the next breakthrough, right? We also have people who have probably never worked with it. So it's like the whole spectrum. Don't worry, what I'm going to present today, I think will be valuable for everyone here. So then we'll talk about the difference between a 3-act structure and a 4-act structure. Now, don't get hung up on this. This is a really simple thing. It just makes it easier for a writer to be able to create a great story. You know, if you've ever heard or had the experience of being stuck in the 2nd act, I've had a lot of people who have told me that's where a good writer goes to die. And that's in a 3-act structure. They're looking at a 2nd act of 60 pages. I just want you to know up front, that never made sense to me. You know, the first 5 screenplays I wrote were done exactly that way. But it always looked to me like there's a midpoint, and that midpoint should be a structure point. So basically what I'm going to present to you is a simple way to think about how to be able to write in acts that are 25 to 30 page long instead of 60 pages. It makes such a difference. Then we'll talk about the transformational journey. This is what you want your audience to be living while they're watching your movie. So when you show up for the premiere of your movie and you're sitting, you know, wherever you sit, you've got a whole audience there. You don't want them to be looking for what all the little things that went wrong or whatever and that kind of thing. You want them to be living this transformational journey. You want them to come out of that theater going, wow, that was a great adventure we just went on. And that's absolutely possible. And finally, we'll talk about the 30-day screenplay class. That is something that was designed because a producer came to me and asked me to do so. And I'll tell you his story when we get to the end of this. He's got a pretty inspirational story also. All right. So the value of structure. First, it naturally creates a complete story. You know, sometimes people will bring in a project and they'll have 35 pages and it'll be like, okay, that's a short. And what they're missing is they don't understand the structure well enough to be able to find, how do I elevate this story? How do I escalate it to the next level? Because I need to fill in all of these blanks, right? So just knowing and understanding structure will have it be so you'll be telling a complete story that an audience, when they're sitting in the theater, will be experiencing and knowing that they are going to watch it to the very end. Then it re-engages the audience, right? It signals the next part of the journey, so they know what's going on, right? They're not going to say, hey, we're in the 3rd act, or hey, we're in the 2nd act, or oh, that was a midpoint, or any of those kinds of things. They don't understand that consciously, but on an unconscious level, they understand. On an unconscious level, they know how movies should be. So they're expecting these parts of the journey. This is another key to the value of structure. You make it obvious to the readers and the producers in this industry. Now, let me say something on this because it's important. I have heard a lot of people say things like, oh yeah, I make my structure less obvious, or I make it something that people don't notice, or that kind of thing. And it's like, here's what you need to know. I've interviewed 50 readers. I've interviewed 750 producers. But the 50 readers I interviewed, including some at the studio level, all told me they look for the structure. It's one of the things they look for. And if they can't see it, if it's not obvious, they think there's something wrong with the script. So if you're making your structure vague, if you're trying to be subtle with your structure, and subtle, by the way, means, if you look up the definition, it means difficult to perceive. If you're trying to make your structure subtle, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. Make it obvious to readers and producers. Audiences won't notice either way, but readers absolutely will. And if your structure's vague, you're in trouble. So just think about that. If you've been told over and over and over to make it subtle, whoever told you that hasn't talked with readers in this industry. Just keep this in mind. It's important. And I'll tell you a couple other reasons as we go why it's important. But let's look at some definitions. And I'm giving you these just so we have clarity as we talk on the rest of it. First one, an act. So this is a section of your story that has a dramatic purpose, and it ends with a turning point. This is incredibly important. You need really strong turning points. I'm going to give you an example when we walk through and talk about exactly what goes into the structure, but you'll see how strong the turning points are. This is a moment for the audience. When a turning point happens, the audience experiences it as, okay, now we've moved to the next stage. Sometimes we're shocked, sometimes we're surprised, sometimes we are like, or we feel fulfilled. This turning point has changed something emotionally for us. So you need strong turning points. Now, the other thing is you need an escalating conflict, right? So this is, again, the rising stakes. This means every time you go from one act to the next, the story gets stronger. The conflict gets stronger. The need for the protagonist to step outside of their box and out of their comfort zone gets stronger. And so the audience experiences that also. Now, the next part, and this is what I was saying earlier, turning point. This is a major twist in the plot, right? Something has changed in a big way at the conclusion of the act. But here's the key point right here. Once this turning point happens, there is no going back, right? They can't go back and just go, oh, sorry about that, and it disappears. The hero has to take the next step in the journey. And if this doesn't make sense to you yet, it will when I give you my example. It is critically important that there's no going back. The person has joined the military. Now they're in. Once they make that step, they can't go back. Somebody has broken up with the other person. They can't go back. Somebody shot somebody. They can't take that back. It doesn't disappear, right? So it's not just like any scene. A turning point should be one of the strongest scenes in your script. Okay. Now that we have that, let's look at the difference between these two. So real simply, we got a 3-act structure, 4-act. I'm going to show you the difference. 3-act structure, here's act 1. Here's act 2. Look at that. And finally, here's act 3. Now, years and years ago, I read Sid Field's book on the 3-act structure, and that was the first time I read it. I just went, wow, I'm wondering, why are we doing a 60-page second act? Have you ever thought about that? Let's go to the 4-act, and you'll see the difference. First act, same, exactly the same. And by the way, you can use this 4-act structure, and when you talk to people who don't understand it, you just say it's a 3-act structure. They'll still be seeing basically the same thing. It's not a problem. But the way we're doing this, the second act now is just 25 pages, right? So, and it stops with the midpoint. Now, there's 2 things that this does. First thing is this makes it so much easier to write this act. You don't have to carry it out over 60 pages. You know that you're going to a turning point, that midpoint. And then the 3rd act then is another 25 pages or so. That is, and it's 25 to 30. That gives you the chance to now escalate this journey. After that midpoint, there's a major change that's gone on. The character has to deal with it, right? So, but from a writing perspective, you're only writing 30 pages, 30 pages, 30 pages on the way to your final act. That is exactly the same as this one. Now, again, if you think that way and you make that midpoint really strong, first, this is going to be so much easier to write. Second, it gives you a goal on this second act. You're not going to the very end. You are going to this midpoint right here. Just doing that makes it so much more really easy to write, but also it kind of gives you a direction. You know exactly what you're doing. You're not going to get stuck in the middle of this long, insane act that actually really should be divided into 2. This just makes, once you use this, it just makes so much more sense. And it's easier for you. So basically, here's the page numbers. Your first act is going to be between 25 to 30. Your second act now is another 25 to 30. Your third act, 25 to 30. And then this final act usually is a little shorter. So this is going to be probably about 20 pages. If you want to, like, let's say you need to get something in at 90 pages, you just cut these 3 down to 25. And you'll end up with about 15 pages here at the end. It'll work for you. So just thinking about that and knowing that this is a structure that really many writers are using either consciously or unconsciously. Let's now take this to the next step. And I'll use a story that you're all familiar with as we walk through this 4-act structure. I just want to give you the movie The Godfather, because it does a good job of showing how strong the turning points need to be and how really clear this stuff is. This is an epic story, but it still fits into this structure. So just watch it. Act 1, we start with an opening. The opening of The Godfather, right? It's the extravagant wedding. Don Corleone is putting on this wedding for his daughter. In the midst of it, we're going to meet all the players pretty much, including Michael Corleone. The inciting incident, well, another drug or another mafia guy, Sollozzo, meets with the Don, offers to have the Don of their drug trafficking and ask him for $1 million. The Don turns him down and says, my family doesn't do that stuff. Then turning point 1. And this is where you can see how strong this turning point is. Sollozzo's hitmen shoot the Don 5 times. So Don Corleone is down, looks like he's going to die. At the end of this turning point, things have changed. There is no going back, right? We've now got the start of a mob war, or if Don Corleone dies, Sollozzo and his people take over, and the whole landscape has changed. So this turning point is incredibly strong. So now Act 2. First, really, first there's a reaction. Michael, goes to take care of his father. He goes to the hospital. And when he gets there, he finds that there's no guards there. He stands up to the police chief, who breaks his jaw. So now the new plan. Sollozzo, finding out that the Don didn't die, decides at that point that he needs to ask for peace. He needs to find some way that the violence will stop, because he doesn't want it coming back on him. So he asked for a meeting with Michael, because he thinks Michael is the weakest of the family, which is kind of important. Now they put the plan into action. So Michael is going to meet with him. They've, behind the scenes, there's a plan that's going on for the Corleones. Michael they've hidden a gun there where they're going to meet. And Michael's job is to get the gun and to do what he's there for. And that brings us to turning point 2, when Michael kills Sollozzo and the police chief. Now, notice this, we've had 2 incredibly strong turning points. This one is our midpoint, right? It cuts the movie exactly pretty much in half. If you look at the script, it's right at the half point. And it also changes the journey. For Michael started out in the very beginning, in the opening, as somebody who was outside the family. He was the legitimate one, right? He was the one. He told Kay some stories about his family. She was pretty disgusted, and he says, "That's my family, Kay. That's not me." Right? He started out being that. He was a war hero. By the end of the second act here, the midpoint, Michael is on the run, and everybody in New York City has locked down. There is now an absolute war going on. The police are wanting Michael. They've sent him over to Italy, so he's in a different world, right? So now we go to Act 3. And here we need to rethink everything. And this is Michael actually going through. Up until this point, he has been on the outside of the family. Now he's starting to find out how the family works. He's starting to see their roots, right? He is dealing with, and living a life in Italy where everybody came from. This breakthrough leads to a new plan. And in this case, the breakthrough is things have changed. Things have died down. The Don goes to his, all the other mobsters, and basically makes a deal. And it looks like everything's going to be fine. And then there's this major turning point where they attack. They kill Sonny, who is Michael's brother. So, and then they also blow up his car, Michael's car, and kill his bride-to-be, or his new wife. That now has Michael coming back with a vengeance. So we now go into Act 4. Michael has come back. He has taken over the family, and we experience the ultimate expression of the main conflict when, while baptizing his godson, Michael Corleone has the heads of all 5 families, or the other 5 of the 4 families, killed. And that changes everything. We now have this new resolution, which is Michael is the new godfather. He is seen as the head of everything, basically, and the Corleones have been reestablished. Now, notice, this, by the way, if you would have asked anybody back then, they would have said probably likely this is a 3-act structure. I want you to notice it actually fits the 3-act structure, and it fits the 4-act structure. By making it fit the 4-act structure, again, it's much easier to write this 2nd act and this 3rd act, and it works. So, you know, hope you can see that. Now let's talk about the transformational journey. This is what we're having people live. And the example I just gave, the transformational journey, was actually Michael's journey. We got to watch that journey from the beginning when he was a nobody, when he was not allowed into the family, until the end where he is now the new Don, and seen by pretty much everybody as this incredibly strong and ruthless human being. And I know some people would say, well, that's not a transformational journey, but it is. I know it's gone negative, but it also is, he's made a major change. He's made a shift that maybe you could argue his whole life was already about, right? It's like, this is a guy who grew up inside the mob, then went to war, became a mob or a war hero, by doing things, we don't know what they are, but very likely it involved a lot of violence, and very likely he killed people. He now comes back and goes through this transformational journey to become the head of the mob, right? So when you're doing this, a transformational journey, this is about causing a life-changing shift for the person. Usually it's the person. The journey then is this long and difficult process of personal change. Please know this. A lot of times people will make it easy on their characters. If you do that, it reduces the quality of the journey for the audience. Instead, this journey should not just be the start and the finish, right? It's not just the arc from here to there. It's a whole series of difficult moments and difficult challenges that the character has to overcome, right? So that's what this is. It's a character arc, the transformational journey, a character arc, plus major challenges to their reality that force them to change on an identity level. You know, if you've ever seen somebody who has either side, if they've been in a traumatic situation and now they changed, right? It's because there was some kind of major challenge to their reality. If on the other side, let's say somebody who's been trying and trying and trying and trying for years, just won an Oscar, you could say, well, that one moment did it. But the truth is all the stuff that leads up to the Oscars is a whole series of major challenges. You know, if you're going to win an Oscar, first, you're going to have to get that movie made. Second, it needs to be absolutely great, and the whole team needs to work together to make it happen. You need a director that can direct at a level that will bring out the best in your story. But third, beyond that, now you're going to have to go through the whole lead up to the Oscars. And you will have moments where, you're standing in front of the media and you suddenly forget what you're going to say, or you say the wrong thing, right? Or something else happens. Maybe it looks like you're not going to win. Maybe you get to one of the smaller shows, and like the LA Film Critics Award or something like that, and you lose there, and everybody's thinking, oh my God, they lost here, therefore they're not going to make it in the Oscars. The journey is an up and down journey, and you're going to have to get stronger and stronger and stronger as you go. So that may be your transformational journey. I hope that happens for you. But let me now take you to this story, because this is another transformational journey that we went through. The producer came to me and said he wanted to put together, he wanted me to put a model for writing a script in 30 days. And I asked him why. And this was, this is a guy who had worked with hundreds of writers, including A-list writers. He said he had always sat across from the table or from the A-list writer at the table and thought, oh my God, they're incredible. I could never do what they do. So when he came to me and said I was his secret weapon, he said, your job is to make sure that I can do what they do. And in the beginning, it was like, wow, okay, hang on. There's got to be a model for writing a script in 30 days. What would that be? But the second part was, how do we make this a true transformational journey? So I went back to him about, 2 weeks later. By then, I had interviewed 3 of my writers who had been paid to write scripts in 30 days or less. They had been hired by major producers. One of them actually finished the script. He finished 7 drafts of the script in 14 days. Now, another one of the writers who right now has some pretty big deals going on, she finished 11 drafts of a script in 32 days. And that movie got produced and went to Cannes. So, this is something that's important. So I interviewed them to figure out, what did they do? What worked? What actually took them through that journey successfully? And then I went back to him and I said, tell me exactly what you want again. And he said he wanted to use my model. I told him the basic model. He said he wanted to use my model to create a library of scripts that he could sell. So he was going to take a year off. And during that year, he wanted to write enough scripts to be able to come back and to make multiple deals. He wanted to be able to master this thing of writing quickly, because that's important in this industry. That is something that the faster you are, the more likely you'll be able to meet deadlines, the more likely you'll be able to make things happen. And that was part of what he was going to do. He was going to promote himself to other producers as someone who could write incredibly quickly and meet the tight deadlines. Now, here's the result. Over the next year, he wrote 6 screenplays. And keep this in mind, he had never written a single screenplay before that. He would write for 1 month. So he would do the exact 30-day model, write for 1 month, and then he would travel for a month. And he said, he took 6 trips during that period of time. He went to pretty much every continent. And he said, that gave him a chance to relax and kind of regroup. It also gave him a chance to process so that he was better at the next script. He returned to the industry. He actually sold a script. And then he did a whole bunch of paid writing assignments for movies, some of which have come out since then. This journey was like a big part of, it was a change in his life that he had always wanted. So it was a transformational journey for him, right? So this is the class that we created. He went through that class, and then during the class, he actually wrote his first script. And then he used that model for every script he wrote after that. Let me just walk you through the class real fast. This one's something unique. Our objective is to give you a model that you can use on every script you write from now on. And some of them you may write in 30 days. If you want to take longer, you can. You can take 2 months, 3 months, however long you want, but it no longer will take you 3 to 6 months to write a screenplay. And this can make a significant difference for you. Again, if you can write a script in 30 days, you can do 6 or more in a year. You'll have more scripts that can sell. You will have faster improvement. If you're the one in your writers group and everybody else has written more scripts than you, 1 year from now, you'll be leading everybody and you will be a better writer. And you'll get a reputation as a fearless writer. In this industry, this is an incredibly valuable reputation to get. So ultimately, this will also give you major confidence. You will know that whatever they ask you to do, you can do it. So that's what this program is about. Let me give you a couple more details so that you can see, and then I'll give you a special. In this class, here's what you're going to accomplish. First, you're going to write a script in or around 30 days. As long as you just do the assignments every single day, finish that script in 30 days. That's all you got to do. Just do the assignments. Second, you're going to learn high-speed writing. And this was the thing that took us the longest to develop, our high-speed writing rules. Because most people think you only write at the speed at which it comes to you. What we found out when we were talking to A-list screenwriters is they can speed that up, right? There are a whole bunch of strategies to be able to write twice as fast or 3 times as fast as you normally write. And once you know those, you will then have control of this whole thing. You will be able to write at whatever speed you need to. And just that, I got to tell you, will change things for you. Because if all of a sudden a producer says, hey, we need to change all these things, we need to do a quick rewrite, we've only got 4 days, you won't go into fear. You won't go into, oh my God, I don't know if I can do it. You'll have a model. You'll be able to say, okay, I need to get done in 4 days what would normally take me 15 or 20. All right, I'll just change my strategies, which is what the high-speed writing rules are, and do it. You'll also, in this program, master the transformational journey, which means you're going to master structure, right? You're going to master that taking that character from one place to the other and do it in a way that creates a life-changing experience, not only for the character, but for the audience. And finally, you will have a model to be able to write any script in 30 days. So the question here is, how many scripts would you like to write in the next year? Instead of 1 or 2, what if it was 3 to 6, and even more if you want, but it's absolutely possible for you to accomplish 2 to 3 times as much as you are right now with this different set of strategies. So this will change your life as a writer. It'll give you the chance to develop faster, to gain expertise, to be able to do things that you really truly would, that get you into the industry quicker or get you into the contest wins that you want quicker. The program, again, it starts on, let me give you some dates here, May 27th. And I'll give you a special, this is for the first 10 people that sign up. The normal price on this is $299. This class, I'll show it to you in just a moment, but you'll see we have lessons every single day. Every single day you are going to be improving. Every day you're going to be taking another step. This isn't a class, by the way, where you start on the first day writing your first scene. You're going to build your structure, your characters. You are going to, go through and do a quick outline. You are then going to go into the writing process. It will give you everything you need. So if a producer asks you to write a script in 30 days, you have the ability to. The normal price on it is $299. For the first 10 people that sign up, you can get in for $199. That's the special. To do that, all you got to do is just write this link down, bit.ly, bit.ly /my-next-scripts. No spaces, no capitals. Just write that whole thing down, put it in your browser where you normally put a web address, and click return. That'll give you the chance to sign up and go through this. Once this class starts, you will be learning every day, you will be growing every day as a writer, and you will create your next script. So this will make a significant difference. The moment you sign up, we will get you within 5 minutes. We will get you a pre-lesson on how to create a great concept that will increase the chance that your script can sell. So this is one of those journeys that I promise you will change things for you in a big way. Your structure will be better from this point on. Your writing will be better. The depth of the journey that you create will be stronger, and you'll have the ability to do it at an incredibly high speed, which will blow people away in this industry. So if that's for you, again, just write down this link, bit.ly/write-my-next-script, and come join us. I promise you, you will love what this class does for your writing from now on. You will be somebody who is much more prolific and has a much better chance at success. So if you'd like to get in at the special, just be one of the first 10. After that, the price will bump up, and then it'll bump up again until it's finally at the $299 price. So jump in right now, save $100, and change your life as a writer. With that, it was great hanging out with you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. I hope your structure is already better because of what we talked about. And I look forward to seeing you in this class. Good talking with you. Bye-bye, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best.